Hello everyone. So today's topic is Recession 2025. We are not sure if it's a recession or if there's going to be a recession, but most of the prominent financial institutions have predicted there's a greater chance of recession going to happen in the year 2025. As most of the business analysts would have been trying to gather much more information with regard to how they want to put in their business strategies for this quarter, I'm sure many of you would be searching for topics related to this discussion. And I thought I should include this topic in my video modules as well, because it would be helpful for business people out there as well as for the students who are doing or studying business studies right now. So as I mentioned, we are not sure if there's going to be a recession, but major institutions have predicted there are at least 40 to 50% chance of a recession commencing shortly. So as I always say, there are a humpty number of topics and channels, or articles covering this particular topic in the internet. You can Google and get a lot of information out there. So how is this module different from what is already available in the internet? As I always mention, whatever I share or most of the content that I share here through my channel is primarily specific to the experiences what I already had, which means I witnessed a recession in the year 2008 and in the year 2020. So the 2021 was brief, but still withstood that particular recession as well. So whatever I'm going to include in this video module would be pertaining to the 2008 recession and a little coverage on the 2020 part as well. So again, it is from an experienced personal perspective rather than copying the content already available in the web arena, or just blindly coming here and reading out a research material. That is not the case here. I will be comparing the current scenario with the past experiences that we witnessed or we experienced when we had to go through recession as business heads or people who are handling different sectors in the market. So keep that in the mind, and if this is for you or if this kind of content is something that you're looking for, then please proceed watching. Else search for something which is in tune with your perspectives and move on and move ahead. So let's come into this. Let's dive into this topic and let us also move on. So what do I say? What is going on right now? Right now, when we are looking at the markets are crashing, and the governments are doing everything possible to sustain the market to a profitable level, or to make sure that the crash is not disastrous. But we don't know till what extent the governments are going to be successful. So this is the first thing. What is the second thing going on? There is, trade wars going on, the major economies of the world. Again, a very concerning scenario. The third point, a lot of uncertainties among the business people, among the giants, a lot of volatility in the market. Fourth point, actual wars going on between the countries. So we have four very different scenarios that is currently going on in the market, which has led the predictions or the rumor mills to keep churning the rumor of an impending recession in the current future. So the first thing, market crashing. Markets, as always, the markets go up and down. Nobody has a say about what is going to happen in the market at a certain point of time. So the market has been going through a downward spiral in the last couple of months. And as I mentioned, the governments have been trying to do their best to make sure that that there is no disastrous impact on businesses to make sure that the market sustain without any major losses. So, and then the blow of the trade wars happened with increased tariffs being levied by the major economies, starting a trade war. Again, that became an additional, adding salt to the wound. Yeah, kind of adding salt to the wound. So already the markets were crashing, and on top of that, the trade war scenario came in, causing further, crater in the market situation. So this is what we are all facing right now. So when there is a large impending uncertainty or volatility in the market, generally the investors withhold the investments. People doesn't want to spend, correct? Like when there's a lot of uncertainty, the investments are not actually working out, and people want to be a little cautious, and because they obviously want to save their investments or money, or they want to put in the money or the investments at the right places where it is profitable. Right now the scenario of risk is much more than a a normal market scenario. So when the risk is so high, investors doesn't want to invest as much. And when the investments are withheld, the market movement is much less. This directly impacts the employed community. So people start losing job opportunities. People start losing their jobs. Again, this in turn impacts the market. When people are not, are not employed, they stop spending or they reduce the spending amount. They also want to control the expenditure. Now, the first scenario, the market is uncertain. Investors do not want to invest. When the investors are withholding their investments, job opportunities get reduced. People are not employed. Hiring is not happening. Very less organizations want to hire or go ahead with increasing their human capital during the time of a recession. Many organizations also try to lay off their employees. When employees are laid off, the unemployment in the market increases. When the unemployment in the market increases, people are not ready to spend more money in the market. That again adversely impacts the market. So this is a continuous cycle. So the cycle is happening. The market is uncertain due to 4 different factors which we discussed right now. When the market is uncertain, investors are withholding. When the investors are withholding, unemployment is rising. When the unemployment is rising, market expenditure, market movement is considerably reduced. When the market is stagnant, when the market money is not flowing, everything stops, everything stands still. And this further contributes to the, market crashing down further. So this is the scenario that is currently going on. Again, if I want to explain the recession, there is humpty number of topics available on recession covered in the internet. You can Google and find out, but just to, maybe if you're listening and spending time here, just to give you a brief on what is recession. What I understand from what is recession is whenever there is a loss happening in a country's GDP for two consecutive why am I doing this? Okay. 2 consecutive quarters. That is, a quarter is 3 months, and 2 consecutive quarters means 6 months. If there is a loss of a country's GDP for 6 months, then it is considered to be a recession. And it may be applicable to certain sectors, and it may not be applicable to certain sectors. It may be applicable to certain countries and it may not be applicable to other countries. So the number of countries going under a loss scenario for a constant of 6 months impacts the economies to a larger extent. So in layman's terms, this is a loss of countries or organizations or sectors not making profit for a consistent period of 6 months. Then that is deemed to be a period of recession in in literal terms. This is what I understand. Okay, so right now, as I mentioned, it is a circle. Investors are withholding. Unemployment is rising. So what is going on? People are not ready to spend much in the market, and the market is going stagnant. What I also understand is that the only sectors that is currently moving is like the basic requirements, like the grocery sector. Grocery sector is okay. They're surviving. The stocks in the grocery sector is not impacted as much compared to the other giants. So which implies that people are ready to spend only on the basics, like food. Grocery is food. So people are ready to spend right now are ready to spend only on the basics. People need food to survive. So that particular sector is surviving or is not at a loss, because people are spending for food. And the utilities also. What I understand is that the only two sectors that is currently not impacted as much because of this 4 different scenarios or 4 different threats that is hitting the market are the grocery sector and the utility sector. Because if you don't pay your utility bills, the current is going to go off, then it's going to be a problematic for all the families out there. So these are the only 2 sectors which are currently not impacted by the market volatility. So this is the situation right now going on. When I compare it to the 2008 scenario, again, I have made, I think, 1 or 2 videos on the same topic. If you're interested, you can actually check them out. I could provide the link below, like how I think I have given micro details about how we managed and how our brand survived during the 2008 recession. So if you are interested in actually getting a micro detail on the specific topic, you can actually go through that particular video. I'm sharing a link below. So yeah, coming to the point, when I'm comparing the current scenario with the 2008 situation, it was drastically different. At least now we have organizations which are predicting saying that there could be a chance of a recession in the coming couple of months. But in 2008, it just happened overnight. Suddenly, we were all shocked. The market, and just prior or just before the recession hit us in the year 2008, the market was booming. People were heavily investing. People were spending money on real estate. Real estate projects were actually happening all in most of the parts of the, major economies. Major economies were thriving on real estate at that time, and people were actually spending. People were actually investing in real estate and various new businesses just before the recession hit. So, and the recession came in as such a blow. Overnight it happened. It came as a shock. It created shock waves. We didn't have the luxury of time like right now we have. Right now, the business analysts and strategists can actually put in the effort and time to understand and plan accordingly for the next couple of months as to how they are going to manage if there is a turmoil in the business markets. But at that time, we didn't have this luxury at all. We were all hit suddenly. The blow happened suddenly, and we were stuck overnight. So right now, we have the luxury of actually how to plan accordingly if there is a recession coming up. So this is the right time to actually diversify. Think of business strategies as to how you're planning to survive if the market is really going to be impacted due to the various reasons. So take a step forward, make sure, put in your plans, talk to your strategists, understand how you're going to move ahead and how much of cost cutting you plan to do, how much of investment withholding for how long you're going to do, which all the markets which will not, or which will be least risky, or which will not be impacted by if there is any market market downfall. So look at all these options and try to make sure that your investments are actually diversified and your income sources are also diversified to ensure that you are in a safe place. Excuse me. So this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this video module, to make sure that all of us are prepared to handle any scenario if things go southwards. So yeah, so 2008 things happened so quickly that we didn't have any of the time or the capacity to handle things, but still with the limited resources and time, we did our best to handle the situation. So what we can do is immediately start planning about looking at the opportunities out there. And right now what I understand is that the Asian markets or the Asian countries are considered to be safer havens compared to the Western situation. So make sure, I'm sure there are specialists who are capable of whatever I'm talking is from an HR's point of view, not from a business head's point of view. Though I've handled the business head scenario in the year 2008, right now I'm not talking from a business head's point of view, I'm talking from an HR's perspective. So you will have to, of course, when situations like this, most of the organizations withhold the hiring. They try to tighten up the hiring process. So hiring process is the first one that gets hit. And in 2008, people, when these kind of situations happens, is that what happens is people get tensed, people become anxious. And so you have to make sure that as an HR, what we really had to spend time on is interacting with the people, At one end, we had to consistently talk to the candidates, because we had so many candidates who were waiting for onboarding to the new organization. They were between jobs because there was so much of, there was so much of boom happening in the market. There was so much of investments going on. There was a lot of hiring going on. When there is an increased investment, people want more people to work for their organization. Like how the investors, when the investors withhold the investments and job opportunities go down. In the same way, when there is a lot of investments, when there is an increased investments going on in the market, there is more job opportunities. So we were doing a lot of placements and hiring during that time. That is pre-2008 recession, okay? Just before the 2008 recession, there was hell lot of hiring and recruitment going on. So all these people were in limbo. Suddenly, overnight, they were they were planning to head to a better position in a better organization or in a better salary scale, and suddenly they are stuck. So we had to sit and counsel to each and every candidate who called us. They were comparing their situation or their scenarios to the 1930s, the Great Depression. People were so worried. Because the market crashed so suddenly, nobody expected such a blow to occur into the market. So people were so worried, and they used to call us and say, what can we do? We are in between the jobs. Now the current organization is not going to rehire us. What happens if the onboarding gets stopped in the next organization? We will become jobless. We'll become jobless. So they were like, so many people being, after losing their job, so many people coming into the market. Imagine the crisis. Imagine the crisis of the families and the people. So we had to sit and communicate to each and every candidate to ensure that they're pacified. Nothing of that sort is going to happen. We'll ensure that every one of them were employed and were capable of feeding their families, So we as HR people, we acted as a bridge between these people and the organizations. So one side, we had these candidates who were consistently worried and calling us up. And I still remember one candidate was literally so anxious and was describing the situation to the 1930s depression, wherein people didn't even have food and water, the basics. So people were so much worried about the market crashing situation in the year 2008. So people become panicky when these kind of situations happen. And so as HR, we have to handle them effectively and efficiently to ensure that there is a peaceful scenario for them to move on to the next phase. So one side, if the candidates were worried, the other side, we had organizations or the hiring managers who were really worried about keeping their jobs. So they used to call us up and ask, like, what is going on? What is the competition doing? Are they hiring? Are they withholding the hirings? Are they laying off their employees? So they wanted to make sure how their jobs and their organizations are going to survive in this volatile situation. So we had one side, the candidates coming and complaining to us, and on the other side, we had the hiring managers and the organization representatives trying to pacify themselves and try to get information about the market on the hiring situation so that they can implement it in their organization. So we as HR, we acted as a bridge between the two parties to ensure that things moved on smoothly. So this was the scenario in 2008. In 2020, it was much, much different. 2020 thing hit again suddenly. Nobody anticipated a disease to spread so quickly, impacting all the organization, almost all the countries and all the sectors. It was very sudden. I think it was from April, May, June, March, April, May, like that, 2020. It hit suddenly, but organizations coped up immediately. It did not impact as much, as far as my knowledge goes, it did not impact the market as much as it impacted the market in the year 2008. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not sure, but as far as my knowledge goes, it didn't impact the market as much as it impacted in the year 2008. So this is the major comparison I would like to do to the current situation that is happening in the year 2025 compared to the situation that happened in the year 2008 and in 2020. So I think I covered most of the points that I had wanted to share here. So if you need further information, please do put me a message and I'll be happy to cover more details. So yes, before the conclusion, I would like to also share what are the expert advices on how to handle the current scenario. Of course, they're advising, please diversify your income as much as possible and diversify your investments to less risky markets or less risky sectors. So you have leverage to sustain for a longer time. And the current markets or the predicted markets which are going to be less impacted by if there is a recession going to happen are, of course, the Asian market, especially the South Asian markets and the Middle East. So invest accordingly. I just one of my financial advisors gave me this topic and point here, so I just wanted to include it here as well. Then what? So I think I have covered stocks, heavy investments, attraction, and the heavy. I think I've covered most of the topics. I don't think I missed anything. So just to conclude, the market, which are the 4 different factors that is impacting the market, and the reasons why there is a predicted why there is an increased rumor of an impending recession, or why certain organizations have predicted that there is a 40, 50 or 60% of chances of a recession happening in the near future. The 4 reasons are considered to be already, the market uncertainties, big market volatility caused by the trade wars. The market were already crashing for quite some time. In the last couple of months, the markets were crashing at a very fast pace, though the governments were trying their best to withhold the markets with the least number of hiccups. But still, the markets were already struggling. On top of that, the tariffs and the trade war started between the major economies. The third point, which increased the volatility and anxiousness in the market, causing the investors to withhold their investments and stop further investments. Fourth point, actual wars going on in actual countries, contributing to further uncertainties in the market, which sowed the seed for chances of an increased chances of a recession coming up in the near future. So these are the 4 reasons that are considered to be the causes for the recession. And we have an opportunity to actually make sure that we survive the tough situation. We learn from the experiences that we witnessed in the year 2008 and in the year 2020 and implement and take the right decisions, and even the quick decisions, and implement it in the right way, ensuring that our people are taken care of, ensuring that our staff are sustained to what extent we are able to sustain. So make sure that your company is afloat, not for 3 months, not for 6 months, for all the coming years which are going to happen. So yeah, I hope this module was useful to many of you. And if you would like to know more, or if you want me to do much more research on a specific topic, please do put in your comments and I'll be happy to include it here. So thank you for your time, all of you, and bye-bye.